Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dive deep into the nitty-gritty of company filings and try to find the real story beneath all the jargon. Today we are cracking open a report from Fidelity Court Street Trust II, a financial report that probably sounds as dry as month-old toast, but trust me, there are some juicy nuggets in here if you know where to look. So what is this all about? Well, it is essentially a certified shareholder report of registered management investment companies. Think of it as a peek under the hood of a mutual fund. Specifically, this report is about the Fidelity New Jersey Municipal Money Market Fund. Now, a money market fund might sound pretty safe and steady, but these reports can reveal a lot about its performance, its holdings, and its costs. Let's talk about costs because who doesn't want to know where their money is going? For a hypothetical $10,000 investment in the Fidelity New Jersey Municipal Money Market Fund, the cost for the year was $42. That might not sound like much, but as a percentage, it is 0.42% for the premium class of the same fund. The cost was even lower at just $30 or 0.30% for that hypothetical $10,000 investment. And for the institutional class, it was a minuscule $20 or 0.20%. This shows a clear trend larger investments and different classes generally mean lower costs, which is pretty standard in the fund world. Now let's look at some key facts about the fund as of the 30th of November 2025. The fund size was a whopping $1,304,669,443. That is over $1.3 billion. It holds 147 different investments, and the total advisory fee was $24,55585. That advisory fee is paid to the folks managing the fund. What did the fund invest in? Well, the asset allocation gives us a good picture. A significant chunk, 34.2%, was in variable rate demand notes or VRDNs. These are basically short-term debt instruments that pay interest but can be resolved on demand. Then 25.5% was in tender option bonds. Municipal securities made up 22.1% and commercial paper a small slice at 3.3%. The rest, 14.9%, was in net other assets and liabilities. We see a heavy reliance on these types of investments, which is typical for money market funds aiming for safety and liquidity. Digging into the schedule of investments is where things get really interesting. These are the actual securities the fund holds. For municipal securities, we see a lot of exposure to New Jersey. For example, there are several higher education student assistance authority bonds from New Jersey, with coupon rates around 5% maturing in 2025 or later. There are also general obligation bonds from various New Jersey counties and towns. The total value of these municipal securities was $28,794,20. Looking at the tender option bond section shows a much more diverse set of states with holdings in Arizona, Georgia, New Jersey, and others. These are often structured as variable rate demand notes with complex liquidity facilities from major banks like Mizuho Capital Markets, LLC Barclays Bank PLC, and JP Morgan. The total value here is $3,246,750. The variable rate demand note section is the largest component. Here we see significant investments in New Jersey healthcare related bonds, often with liquidity facilities from banks like Bank of America, NA, and TD Bank NA. For instance, there are New Jersey healthcare bonds with coupon rates around 2.8% and some with significantly lower rates like 1.4%, all in amounts of tens of millions of dollars. The total for VRDNs is a massive $446,505,001. The fund also invests in other Fidelity central funds with $189,413,188 in the Fidelity Municipal Cash Central Fund. This is essentially investing in other funds managed by Fidelity itself. It is important to note that information in the report regarding holdings by state and security types does not reflect the holdings of this central fund. Now let us look at the big picture financial statements. As of the 30th of November 2025, the total investment in securities was $1,298,828,409. Total assets were $1,317,508,250, with total liabilities at $12,838,000. This results in net assets of $1,304,669,443. The statement of operations shows that for the year ended the 30th of November 2025, the fund had total income of $33,147,794, primarily from interest and income from Fidelity Central Funds. Total expenses after reductions were $3,136,958. This resulted in a net investment income of $0.1086. This is solid income generation for the fund. Looking at the financial highlights, we can see the per share data. For the Fidelity New Jersey Municipal Money Market Fund, the net asset value remains steady at $1.00 at the beginning and end of periods from 2022 to 2025. The total return for the year ended the 30th of November 2025 was 2.30%. The expense ratios before and after reductions remained at 0.42%. This stability around the $1 net asset value is exactly what you expect from a money market fund. For the institutional class, the story is similar, with a consistent $1.00 net asset value and a total return of 2.53% for 2025. The expense ratios here are lower at around 0.20% after reductions, which makes sense for an institutional class. And for the premium class, also holding a steady $1.00 net asset value, the total return for 2025 was 2.43%, and expenses are around 0.30%. The difference in expense ratios between the classes is a good example of how different share classes cater to different investor needs and fee structures. Now, what about the auditing and fees? PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP or PwC audited the fund. The fees billed for audit-related services for the year ended the 30th of November 2025 were $1,800. Tax fees were $2,200 and all other fees were $700. On a broader level for fund service providers, PwC billed a substantial $891,400 for audit-related fees and $1,000 for tax fees in 2025. The total non-audit fees billed by PwC across the fund and service providers was $1,375,630 for 2025. This shows a significant engagement with the auditor, not just for the fund itself, but also for the broader Fidelity operations. The report also touches on the basis for approval of the investment advisory contract. The Board of Trustees reviewed the nature, extent, and quality of services provided by Fidelity Management FidiAmp Research Company LLC or FMR and its affiliates. They looked at investment performance, staffing resources, and shareholder services. They also compared management fees and expense ratios to peer funds. For the fund's institutional class, the total expense ratio was found to be below the competitive median. The board also considered the costs of services and profitability of Fidelity. They reviewed detailed revenue and cost allocation methodologies. While the specifics are complex, the board concluded that Fidelity's profitability methodologies are reasonable in all material respects and that the profitability was not excessive. They also considered economies of scale, noting that expenses might not decline as assets grow for certain classes due to contractual arrangements. So what is the bottom line here? This report for the Fidelity New Jersey Municipal Money Market Fund shows a large stable fund with a focus on high quality short-term investments. Typical for a money market fund, the fund generates consistent income and maintains its $1 net asset value, demonstrating its conservative investment strategy. The tiered expense structures for different share classes are clear and seem competitive. The heavy reliance on variable rate demand notes and tender option bonds with liquidity facilities from big banks suggests a strategy focused on safety and liquidity. The significant fees paid to PwC for audit-related services on a broader scale point to a well-resourced and heavily scrutinized operation. While the fees and complexity of the investments might seem daunting for a money market fund, the overall picture is one of stability and adherence to its investment mandate. Alright, that is our deep dive into this Fidelity filing. What are your thoughts on these municipal and short-term bond heavy investments for a money market fund? Let us know in the comments below if you found this breakdown helpful. Hit that like button and subscribe for more corporate decoder sessions. And as always, check out our Discord community linked in the description for more discussions and behind the scenes insights. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.